Hello, family and friends. This is Sandra Brown of Life Past 80, formerly Sandra Brown of Life Pushing 80. I'm confused about where the camera is. Really. Well, I want to talk to you today about a little part of my life when my first marriage. I'm now 80. My first marriage, I was married at the age of 18 years old. And he was a nice man. He loved me. He was the father of my children. But he just could not stay away from alcohol and the bottle. He just couldn't. And I finally had to leave him. And I remember being a young married and having two little kids. And in those days, we just didn't have any sources or anybody to help us. We had no one to turn to. Like now, there's so many places you can turn to and so many sources, but there just wasn't anything then. It just felt, it was so horrible for women then. But I had those two little kids and I had to keep sticking it out. And I became a Christian when I was 24, married at 18, 24, I became a Christian. He was in a car accident. His name was Bill too. I'm married to Bill now, but his name was Bill. And he was in a car accident with his brother, and was a very severe car accident. And he's busted up his leg. The bone came out of his thigh. I guess it's called a compound fracture. And the seat was pushed all the way in the back. His brother was driving. And, both of them were drunk. And he ended up coming home from the hospital, and I had to take care of him. He was in a body cast, and we had a hospital bed in the living room. And I had one baby in diapers, and the other he was young, very young. But I was just tickled to death to take care of him. Not the potty part, but I was tickled to have him home because of his drinking. And I know you ladies who have a husband who drinks, you're always concerned every time they leave the house, or particular people buddies of theirs would come over, then that was the ones they were going to go drink with, or something would set them off and they go out and get drunk. So I was just glad to have him home. But things continued with him even after that. He would try to quit drinking off and on. And sometimes, I think the longest he went one time was 6 months without drinking. And he didn't just drink. It would go on, he would be drinking all night. And I can remember so many times at supper time, I would look out the window. I was a young girl, and I'd see all the other men coming home from work. And I was like wishing he would come home. And I really went all out when I cooked dinner. And the big thing then was your husband coming home from work, So you'd have the kids cleaned up, you'd clean the house up and have a big supper. I'd have 3 courses of meals and dessert. And the kids are ready to eat. Well, we didn't have microwaves then, so you couldn't heat the food up. So, and he wouldn't come home, and I would have to make excuses to the children because all this time, we were married 20 years, I had to cover for his drinking because I wanted my children's life to be normal. I didn't want them to have any bad memories. I want him to have a good childhood. And he did love the children. So I would say, they would be going, where's Daddy at? And I would say, oh, he's working over, so we're going to go ahead and eat. And it was just such an empty feeling sitting down at the table without him. And we'd just go ahead and eat, and I put the kids to bed. And of course, the next day, I remember they were going to a Christian school, and so I had to drive them. And I don't remember exactly how far it was, but I know I went through 10 stoplights there and 10 back when I would drive them. But I remember then you're waiting for them to come home. And I remember waiting, and this one particular night, waiting. Finally, it's like 3 o'clock in the morning. Well, I'm tired because I've been waiting up for him all that time. But now he won't go to bed. He wants to do things like go in there and pick up my daughter Dawn and carry her around, get all sentimental or whatever, and she's sleeping. So I'm like blocking the doors of the bedroom, trying to keep him quiet. So to keep him quiet, I had to sit and listen to him talk. Drunk talk. She's smoking. He smelled like smoke, and I didn't smoke, and smelled like stale booze. His eyes all bloodshot, slurred speech, and he would just ramble on and on and on. You know, always how much he loves me, and you should have married a businessman, whatever that meant. And I remember wrapping up in a blanket, and I remember my whole body just trembling. So I know this couldn't have been good on me. For 20 years of this stuff, one horrible story after another like this, never tried to hit me. He was never abusive to me. But he was always missing work, and he worked hard. He worked at the mill, but he would drink, and then he'd have to call off. Well, he'd work a double, which was really nice to make up for it, but it was like, one step forward, 2 steps back all the time. But this went on and on and on. We've had the pastor had come to the home and tried to talk with him, and he says, Bill, you've got a beautiful wife and children. You're going to lose them if you don't stop drinking. Oh, I know. And he did try for a long time. He did try to quit drinking. But his mother, she did quit. I found out that she was drinking too, but she did manage to quit. I give her credit for that. After her doctor told her it was going to kill her, she didn't. Or she'd have a stroke. The father never quit drinking. His younger brother was an alcoholic. His older sister was an alcoholic. And they're all very nice people. All very good people. And if you looked at them, they looked like a typical family out of the 50s. Alcoholism, it's a horrible thing. It really is. And I just felt like I was in a circus of drunks and trying to make things normal all the time. And I was taking the kids to church by myself all the time. And I can remember waking up one Sunday morning. I just got them up, and he's just coming in from drinking. And I guess the children wanted to watch some cartoons on the TV. And it was one of the older TVs, and it started rolling or something. And so they wanted him to fix it. They didn't even know, how drunk he was. And so he tried to fix the TV, and then he just fell over, passed out on the floor, and wet himself. I'm only saying this because if there's any of you men who are drinking and putting your wife through this, your children, don't do it. It's not worth it. You're going to lose everything. And so I had to walk around his drunk, wet body on the floor, and take my kids to church. Did this for 11 years and taught Sunday school. But I didn't know what to do because I couldn't. My kids, every time I tried to leave him, he would beg me to come back. I would go stay with my parents. Well, they got tired of me and the little kids being there, and I totally understand that. Pretty soon, he was coming over there begging, and they would go, oh, well, give him another chance. And my kids would be crying. They miss their dad. So I ended up going back. And that would just happen over and over for 20 years. Finally, one day, I don't know, he started pulling my kids into the drinking. And I had a nephew that moved in with me. He was, that's a long story. He moved, he was a little older than my kids. And he needed guidance, but all he was getting is Bill taking him out and taking my kids out drinking. Had him in the back of a truck, and Bill had a loaded gun and drunk and going to parties. And it got to the point, before I was staying because of the kids. Now I had to leave because of the kids. But my thought was, one day I thought, I can't walk away from 20 years of marriage. I was 38 years old, I remember. I thought, I can't walk away. And then I thought, but wait, I could have 20 more years of this. And I remember that was a thought that, and he had got to the point now where he quit trying to stop drinking. I could tell. He was just having a ball with it. You know, be going like 2 or 3 days of being drunk. And while he was doing that and having so much fun, I did it. I called a lawyer, got a horrible lawyer. I didn't know who to get, but called a lawyer, and before he could sober himself up, I was going through with it, and I didn't stop. I, as a Christian, always felt guilty about it, you know, busting the kids' home up. It devastated the kids. And plus, I had hidden it so long from them. I mean, they knew a little bit because I can remember him putting my daughter on his lap and promising her that he wouldn't drink anymore. And they would come to, I remember them saying to me, oh, Daddy said he's not going to drink anymore. He said this to me so many times, over and over and over. And I told him, I go, don't tell the kids that, you know. I mean, it's bad enough I had to be brokenhearted over it. I didn't want that to happen to them. But anyways, I did it. I divorced him. And it was very hard to get away from him because he still kept coming to the house. But because, let me tell you what, when they're drunk, they don't care about any divorce papers or laws or anything else. They're going to do what they want. He came in and I had a china cabinet, and he knocked it over and busted up my grandma's bowls and that I had in there, all kind of stuff, and busted up my camera. But it was over. But you know what, ladies? If you're living with an alcoholic, you've got probably places you can go to now for some help. But if you're going to a church somewhere, go to the pastor. Don't quit until you just get help anywhere you can. Get help. I just didn't know where to go, but now I think you can find help. And no matter how rough it is, if you see it's never going to change, he's not trying, you may have to get out. I'm not saying divorce him. You may have to get away. Because it was affecting me. I can remember just looking at my face some mornings. I had dark circles under my eyes, and I was just wore out from it. And just pray to God for guidance, for help. I did pray about his drinking all the time. But you know what? God's not going to do something against somebody's will. If they want to drink, they're just like, we're not like robots. God will not force us to do something that we don't want to do. But there is still life after you leave them. I don't care how rough it gets. You're going to find a way. You're going to find a way to take care of yourself and those children. But don't ever decide to divorce because I'm talking to you. It might be that they will change. They could possibly. But they just have to want to do it. I don't know. I'm hoping this helps somebody. It was so many things I could have said about it. So many things. But there's no sense in me trotting through all that junk that I went through. It's been a very long time ago. Because after I left him, I married right away. That's another story. I'm full of stories, some things in my life. But I married and was married for 40 years. He's passed away, and I'm a newlywed. I married at 79 years old. I'm 80 now, and my husband's 81. He lost his wife. I lost my husband, and I finally found peace with somebody. A man who's a Christian man and lives it. He lives it, and he loves me and takes good care of me. So there's hope. There's hope, ladies. Okay. I hope that just wasn't a bunch of rambling. I mean, because there's just so much. I took notes and never even looked at them. I should look down here if I forgot probably something. I don't know. We'll just let it go at that. All right. This is a prayer from Jesus Listens book. Okay? I'll put that up there again so you can see it. And it's probably backwards, doggone it. I know there's a way to turn that around. Well, one of these days I'll learn all these tricks. Okay. Infinitely wise God, I know that you are good, but your ways are often mysterious. When I look at the world events with so much rampant evil, it's easy for me to feel fearful and discouraged. I find it impossible to fathom why you allow such cruelty and suffering. Of course, I recognize that you are infinite and I'm not. And there's so many things that are simply beyond my ability to comprehend. Thankfully, every time I reach the limits of my understanding, I can keep moving onward by relying on my trust in you. Help me to stay in communication with you through silent and spoken prayers, trusting in you with my heart instead of leaning on my understanding. I don't want to be stuck in a presumptuous posture of demanding to know why things happen as they do. I realize it's much better to ask, how do you want me to view this situation? And what do you want me to do right now? Though I can't change the past, I can start with the present moment and seek to find your way forward. Lord, teach me to trust one day at a time. And let me hear you whispering this precious assurance. Do not fear. I will help you. In your trustworthy name, Jesus. Amen. And here's 3 scriptures I have. Proverbs 3:5. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and do not lean on your own understanding. Yes, it's so easy for us to lean on our own understanding. We figure, well, we got it figured out. We're going to figure it out. I think we have to get to the point where I can't figure it out, Lord. I'm turning this over to you. Just lay back in his arms and just ask him to guide you. Psalms 37, the wicked plot against the righteous and gnash their teeth at them, but the Lord laughs at the wicked, for he knows their day is coming. Isaiah 41:13, I am the Lord your God, who takes hold of your right hand and says to you, Do not fear. I will help you. Ladies, I should say this too. If you're being abused by your husband or your children, first chance you get out of there and get away. God never wants you to put up with that. I don't ever want, please don't put up with it. Okay, folks, this has got kind of long, and I don't know if it was just rambling. I don't know if it was helping somebody. I hope it is. I hope it is. And there just was, like I say, so much to that story that I couldn't begin to tell it all. So God bless all of you. Don't forget to subscribe and like. Okay, bye-bye now.